Welcome back to our virtual tours. Did you know, Alden, we are already on number 4 of our tour. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy. And we are glad to have you along for the ride as we tour through the museum. And we know that you're getting a taste of what the museum's like. And we hope that it makes you want to come back and see more. There's a lot these last sessions that we haven't even been able to get to. But we're glad that you're here with us today and take the opportunity to be a part of what we're doing. If you would like to learn more about our museum artist, Melanie Richard, she is actually doing work on a Beelzebub frog, this really big frog, and a Titan boa, a really big snake. You like snakes?
Yeah.
This one's huge. And you can go to our Facebook page, and we have a video posted about Melanie and her work on those two things. So I would encourage you to go back and take a look at that. Now, we're going to keep going with our junior paleontologist, Alden Kanan here. He's working on the junior paleontology sheet, and I know that you are as well. And he has his sheet right here that you can download, and you can help Alden as he goes through and we figure this out together. Now, those are on our webpage. That's creationtruth.org. And I think you can also get those off of our Facebook page as well. So look in those two places and you can print those off, and you can utilize that as we go through the museum and learn more as we're going. So let's see, let's kind of begin here with where we're at. And I know one of the things we're supposed to be doing is counting snakes. Now, I think we found one so far, just one? Okay, can you see any more right around? Look around, let's see.
Right there.
Oh.
I see one.
Really? Oh, look at that. We also count snake skins. So this is a snake skin that somebody has donated to the museum. You can see it back in there. Let me kind of put the laser pointer on it a little bit. You can see it right in there. And it's a pretty big one. So there's another one. So we've got 2 snakes so far, and there's a lot more to go. And we'll just keep looking, and if we miss some, I guess we missed some. You'll have to come back and find more. Well, let's kind of start looking at our lab a little bit, should we? Like by looking at this glass case right over here. And this particular case is pieces of turtles that we found. Do you like turtles, Alden?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really neat turtles that we find in the fossil record. We always like to joke and say God must have loved turtles because he made a lot of them, and we find a lot of them. So one of my favorite things in this entire case is the turtle skull that was found. If you look at it, I think you've got it right there. Right there, you can see the turtle skull. It took us a while to figure out that that was a skull because we found it in pieces. And I remember Tommy, our field paleontologist, had it on end and didn't look like anything. But all of a sudden, he put it this way, the way it's situated right here, and realized that's a skull of a turtle. And you know what's really neat is God even put beauty into these creatures with some of the patterns on the shells. And it might be hard to see on the video, but a lot of these shells have different patterns on them. And if you look over here, there's a bunch of different pattern variety in all of these different kinds of turtles. We find a lot of soft-shell turtles, a lot of snapping turtles, and different things like that. And we just love our little fossil collection of turtles. Martha, that's Tommy's wife, and she's also one of our field paleontologists, spends a lot of time learning about turtles, and she's done a really good job of that. Do you have a favorite part of turtles that you like? What's a fun thing that you've ever found out when you were digging? Did you find some turtle before?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot? Yeah, I think you found like shells and stuff, like parts of the shells of turtles. Yeah, it's pretty neat. So let's see, what else do we need to do here? I think on your sheet, it says something about name one thing you see in the lab window. Where's the lab window? Why don't you show us where the lab window is, Alden? Oh, look at that. Yeah, let's come right over here and we'll have the camera come over and kind of take a look at our lab window. One of the cool things about working here at the Dinosaur and Fossil Museum here in Glendive is the fact that we don't just have a museum, we have a lab that we do a lot of fossil prep in. We bring bones in and we work on them, and we'll talk more about that whole process when we get up to the dig room. But we just wanted to show you a little bit of what's in our lab. And why don't you step up there, Alden, and see if you can tell what some of the things are. So let's look at this, and what do you see? What is the main animal that's in our window?
Triceratops?
Yeah, there's a lot of a triceratops. And it says on your sheet, name one thing you see in the lab window. Now, sometimes there'll be people working in the lab and they'll write that. We had somebody draw a really cool picture of Martha one time working in the lab, and that was their picture of on the backside of their favorite thing in the museum. But most of this Triceratops is from one that we have here at the museum. We have 50% of him. His name is Big John. He's massive. And when we get over to the Triceratops on display here in the museum, we'll talk more about Big John and how big he is in comparison. But right here, this bone right here is the neck vertebrae. They're all fused together, those the neck. It's called the syncervical. We like to throw around those big words. It's kind of fun once in a while. And then we have vertebrae right here and here and here that would go up next to that neck. Then right here, I don't know if we can see it too good, we have a condyle. Now this is not from Big John, but the condyle is a ball that connects the skull to the neck and rotates on that. So it's really pretty neat. That, like I said, that condyle is not from Big John. It's rather small compared to the size of Big John. But those bones are being worked on right now, and hopefully we'll reach a time where we can put Big John on display. Won't that be cool, Alden?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's keep moving out here. And let's make our way right over here to some neat things. So Alden, right here, what do you see right here? What is this stuff?
It's fossilized dung.
What is dung? Well, the fossilized stuff is called coprolite. So if you ever see anything about coprolite, you'll know that it's fossilized dinosaur dung or dinosaur poop, I guess. There's no other way to really say it. And we have some different examples of it, but here's a big piece of it right here. And did you know this stuff is really pretty? Have you ever thought of dung being pretty? No. But this stuff, if you cut it, you can slice it. So this piece right here, you could slice it and polish it, and they make jewelry out of it. How would you like to buy Mom a coprolite necklace? Do you think she'd like it?
Maybe.
Maybe. If it was pretty enough and we didn't tell her what it was, right? We might be able to sneak that in. But here's what's interesting about some of the things we're going to show you right now. These are all examples of something that's had to have been buried very quickly in order for it to be preserved in the fossil record. So have you ever, Alden, why don't you come up here, right here, and stand here beside me? I have a few questions for you. Well, first of all, that's one of them, isn't it? Coprolite is fossilized dung, so make sure you get that one down on your sheet. But let me give you a little bit of information about this that I think is really interesting. Have you ever sprayed dog poop with water?
No.
No, you haven't?
Yeah, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay. Yeah, what happens to it when you spray it with water?
I don't know.
No, you don't know? You don't remember what it does? it kind of dissolves. It goes away to nothing. It just kind of falls apart and goes into the ground. So if you had a flood, like the global flood, or any kind of water which is necessary for fossilization, come up and start rushing over all of this dinosaur dung, it's going to just dissolve away to nothing. So what would need to happen is you would need that to get buried by sediment very quickly, and then more water rushes in, and so you would have it protected from all those things that are going to cause it to dissolve. And then the minerals in the sediment are going to start seeping in to the dung and harden it and make it coprolite. So the flood is an event that is a perfect event to give you things like coprolite. Isn't that cool? And you know, there's a lot of other examples. If you see here on the wall, there is a fish right here that's just perfectly preserved. You can see some of the scales. You can see all of the different fins, and they're up like it was perfectly alive. Because what happens to a fish when it dies in like an aquarium? What does it do with its fins? Do you remember?
No.
No? It kind of tucks its fins, so like the fins here would be tucked back on the back of the fish. When it gets sick, it kind of does that. Well, these were all swimming around perfectly alive, just like this guy up here. Look at this one. See if you can get a close-up view of that one. Look at that. It has a tail sticking out of its mouth. It was swallowing another fish when all of a sudden, boom, it was buried and was fossilized. So that takes something to happen. It has to happen very quickly, right? Something like the flood, moving all that dirt around and burying things. And then you have this down here, which is called a mass mortality plate. Lots of these fish were all buried at once, just boom, buried very quickly and fossilized. Pretty neat stuff. In fact, there are so many of some of these fish, we sell them in our gift shop because there's so many of them. Isn't that crazy? Well, let's look at another example of rapid burial. And this is our ichthyosaur. Now, this was found in Germany, and the originals at the American Museum of Natural History. And this particular cast is a perfect example of rapid burial before something can decay away. So the question on your sheet is going to help us out a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this and see if we can kind of pick some of the parts. So did you know this thing was buried and fossilized in the process of giving birth? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy. Now I want you to look at it. Look at the head of the mom. So an ichthyosaur is a marine reptile. Look at the head of the mom. And I want you to go around through the fossil and see if you can find some of the babies. So we'll have the camera just kind of move slowly through the fossil. So yeah, keep moving. Oh, stop right there and maybe go up just a bit. There we go. Look right here. Can you point those? Do you see those babies right there? There's a baby right there. There's a head. There's a head of a baby right there. We have two babies right there. So there are two babies there. Now let's keep going this way. Here's some other parts of the babies too as you kind of move through. And then if you get down to here, there's a baby right there. See that baby? See that head? That one's coming out of the birth canal. It's being born when it was buried and fossilized. And then if you kind of come out this way, you can see another piece of one right there. And then you have another head right here. Look at that. How many babies is that? Why don't you count them? See if you can count them. How many were up here?
2,
Okay.
3, 4.
That's right. There are 4 babies in this ichthyosaur. So Alden's going to write that number down, and you can write that number on your sheet as well. And our sign here kind of shows what a skin-on version might look like, what might have happened during the flood to bury this thing. because it wouldn't make any sense that this creature died, lay on the bottom of the ocean where it decayed, and because things are going to eat it, and it's not going to get buried quickly enough in order for it to be preserved. You would need something to bury it very quickly, just like the flood of Noah's day. Doesn't that make sense? Makes sense, doesn't it? Now we're going to keep moving down here, and we got to take a little bit of a pause before we hit our fish within a fish, because this is my favorite case. Why is it my favorite case, Olin?
Because it's the T-Rex.
That's
bones.
right. It's T-Rex bones, and I love T-Rex. And there's a lot of cool bones in here. My favorite bones from the T-Rex, what do you think they are?
The teeth.
That's right. You got me figured out, don't you, Alden? That's right. The teeth are absolutely incredible. And you look at these teeth. Did you know that a tooth can sell for $1,000 an inch for a good tooth? Wow, that's a lot. What would you do with $1,000?
I don't know.
You don't know? I think I know. You'd buy a...
Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, you would. You'd buy a Nintendo Switch and a bunch of games, wouldn't you? So there's a bunch of teeth in here that we have found over the years on our dig site. And one of the most incredible things in this T-Rex case is this right over here. We think, after having this analyzed, that that is stomach contents from a T-Rex. In fact, in those stomach contents, there was a jaw from a mammal in that stomach contents. Now, they used to think that mammals didn't live at the same time as dinosaurs, but they've adjusted that over time. Even from an evolutionary perspective, they've found more and more mammals, so they realized there were mammals. But for us, we don't have a problem with that at all, because God created all of them on day 6. And as I've said many times through our tour, we present our exhibits in the context of biblical history, and we think the flood of Noah's day is what buried all of these fossils, right? So you can see some of these different things that are found on our dig site and on other digs we've been a part of, parts of T-Rexes. Pretty cool. All the way back in 2002, we have some things in there. Now let's talk about another creature that really shows the idea of rapid burial, okay? And we're going to kind of back over here, and we're going to let the camera show this as much as you can. It's so big, it's going to be hard to get it on the camera. This is a fish that swallowed another fish, and before it could digest that fish, it was buried and fossilized. Isn't that cool? That is absolutely amazing. So on this particular exhibit, this guy was swimming along one day, swallowed that fish, and boom, he died. Now, would it make any sense that he swallowed that fish and maybe he choked on it and then he died, floated to the bottom, or sank to the bottom, not floated to the bottom, sank to the bottom and then decayed or was buried and fossilized? No. It would take something to happen very quickly. And remember what we said about their fins? How when they get sick or when they die, their fins kind of go down along their body, right? Look at this. Its fins are all out perfectly, just like in life. And so it was buried very quickly. Now we think the flood of Noah's day explains that best. And as we look at this, it's absolutely incredible to think that something like this could be preserved in the fossil record. Okay, so we're going to move around over to right above you there. So why don't you, what is that creature? See if you can say it. Acrocanthosaurus. Good job. Now, if you look at your sheet, why don't you match the number? Acrocanthosaurus is 3 with the head of the Acrocanthosaurus. That is an Acrocanthosaurus. And his head is more narrow than T-Rex, right? What else do you notice? I want you to look at both skeletons, Alden, and tell me what you notice that's different between the Acrocanthosaurus and the T-Rex. Look at its front feet. See its front legs right here? What do you see about its feet versus T-Rex's front feet? No, the front ones, the ones up top, Yeah, the arms or whatever they call them.
They are up, like, not on the ground.
Okay, they're up and not on the ground, yeah. What else do you see? How many toes does T-Rex have?
2?
2 that you can really see. We'll talk about the third one next episode. But how many does this one have?
3.
3. This one has 3 distinct front toes. Now, there's a lot of people that when it comes to dinosaurs, there's so many different kinds of dinosaurs, but many researchers think that there's a lot fewer kinds than what have been identified. And it's always possible that many of these things are of the same kind, just variations within kinds, just like dogs. Like, can you think of, how many kinds of dog kinds can you think of? Like, there's German Shepherds, Huskies, there's wolves, right? Foxes. What else?
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs. Yeah, he likes bulldogs. And so when you begin to look at these creatures, you sometimes think, well, maybe these creatures are just variations on kinds. And we think that might even be the case with Acrocanthosaurus and T-Rex. Now, we could be wrong, but that could be the case. Now, do you notice anything else different about Acrocanthosaurus? Look on his back. What do you notice about his back? Let's see. Let's get the camera over here and kind of...
Spines.
The what?
Spines.
The spines, that's right. So if you can look up at the top of his back, look at that. Look at those spines. See, Acrocanthosaurus means high-spined lizard. And that's a question on your sheet, isn't it?
Yeah. What
does Acrocanthosaurus mean? It means high-spined lizard. And so this particular one, he can't stand very tall because those spines would bind and not allow him to. But one of the other unique things about Acrocanthosaurus is, guess what we find? Come on over here for a minute. Guess what we find, and you can kind of see one down over there. Guess what we find from Acrocanthosaurus that's really unique? Footprints. We find a lot of footprints. We don't find them personally, but down in Texas and different places like that, they find a lot of Acrocanthosaurus footprints. Now, what happens to a footprint if it's just left out in the environment?
It will blow away.
Yeah, like the wind will blow it away or the water will wash it away, right? So it takes something to cover that, maybe some soft sediment to cover that footprint, and then it takes rapid burial to preserve it, because we don't start digging through layers and find tons and tons of footprints. It's something that has to happen very quickly under the right conditions, just like the flood of Noah's day. So we think there's a lot of evidence for the flood of Noah's day. And we are glad you're on this journey with us. And we want to invite you back on Tuesday for another episode of our virtual tour. And guess which dinosaur we're going to start with?
Big John.
No. Who's that up there? Who's this?
T-Rex.
T-Rex. That's right. We're not going to start with Big John. Big John's a Triceratops. So we're going to start with the T-Rex next time we get together, which will be next Tuesday. And once again, we are so glad you're joining us on this journey. Please visit our webpage, creationtruth.org. Check us out on Facebook. And please come visit us when you get a chance. Come do a dig, or you can get involved with us through our internship program for those that are 18 or older, can intern here at the museum. We'd love to have you come do that. And we also so much value your prayers as we continue this ministry. And if you can, please visit our webpage and send a donation to help us through this time when we're unable to be open. So thank you once again for joining us, and until next time, goodbye.